OpenFi closing shop, Apple opens eBay shop, ACDC comes to iTunes, the Steve Jobs movie, and subsidized iPads. It's Tuesday, November 20th, 2012, and this is iWake. I'm Tim Chaten, and this is what's going on in the Apple world today. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of iWake. Lots of things on the agenda today, lots of news items to catch up to. Today's show, I bring you some of the current, some of the recent news in the Apple world as I dig through what I've been sending into my my news account ever since the show went on a break. So, first up today is OpenFi is closing its shop. So, this is it. Developers have until December 14th to migrate away from OpenFi, at which point it'll be offline forever, which that's kind of crazy as far as the timeline here and all of that's going on here. They've been bought out by Gree for $104 million, and they're shutting it down. They are shutting OpenFi down. I'm not quite sure if there's a way to migrate any of this into Gree or what the scenario is there, but it is it's going down. If you were an OpenFi fan, my apologies. It is no more, and I would recommend using Game Center for your gaming purposes here. Next up, a little bit of a cool story here about Apple and eBay. Apple evidently has been selling kind of under the wire on eBay their refurbished products. So these refurbished products come with this on eBay, come with the same guarantees they do in the online store. A full 1-year warranty, return to like new condition, new batteries, original OS reinstalled, inspections, things like that. And the cool thing with eBay is the sales tax thing. So I now live in New Hampshire, which the wonderful thing about New Hampshire is there is no sales tax. There's no income tax. There's not even a seatbelt law. It's kind of a crazy place. But the no sales tax is a big thing. It can save you lots of money on big purchases like tech purchases, as this one is. And there are a few places that you do need to pay sales tax in, but most places for eBay purchases, you're free with that. So where do you have to pay sales tax? You have to pay in California, DC, Indiana, Nevada, New Jersey, and Texas. Every other place in the country, you still are free from paying sales tax on eBay purchases. So if you're getting a new Apple device, I'd recommend checking out Apple's eBay store. It is linked to in the show notes. It's kind of a mysterious place that's not really advertised much by Apple, at least. So very cool news that is actually happening. Next up in iTunes news is ACDC arriving on iTunes. There are 25 albums available to buy with the standard $9.99 price tag on most of these things. And this is big news. They were a big holdout, just as the Beatles were, and it's still not available on streaming services such as Spotify, but it may arrive there, but there's no telling when. The first deal with ACDC was back in August 2007 when they had a Verizon wireless deal for some sort of music thing there. But anyways, ACDC is now on iTunes. If you are a fan of them, you can now go buy their music. So great news there. And I just hope Star Wars, those films make it to iTunes next. Next up today is, for those on Lion, the operating system, Mac OS X Lion or OS X Lion, there is some news for you guys. Evidently, the Messages beta program is going to end on Friday, December 14th, 2012. I think that's around the time The Hobbit comes out. So no more Messages beta for you. According to Apple, we hope you've enjoyed the opportunity to preview Messages. If you'd like to continue using Messages, upgrade to OS X Mountain Lion from the Mac App Store. It's one of the many great new apps and features built right into the operating system. Thank you for your participation in the Messages beta program. So that is the news there. So if you're online, Messages will not be a thing pretty soon for you. Very sad news, and I hope I just hope you update, I guess. I mean, Messages is an awesome app, I think, my opinion, and it's going to be really interesting to um, see that happen as far as Apple shutting users out of that. Next up today, Steve Jobs movie. So as many of you know, there's 2 movies in the works, one starring Ashton Kutcher and one being written by Aaron Sorkin that is earlier in development stages. And Aaron Sorkin leaked some details as to what the movie will be centered around. And evidently it'll be about product launches. It'll tell the story of Steve Jobs through these product launches as the avenue to tell the story, which sounds like a cool idea. And he's going to be centering it around the 1984 Mac launch, the next computer launch, and the 2001 iPod launch. So you have the birth of personal computing, you have Steve Jobs next with this brand new company that's all him, that's a lot of learning going on for him at that point in his life. And you have the iPod. And these are 3 very important product launches for Steve in particular. And I think it'll be a very telling story, a very good story. And I'm anxious to see what is done with that. Next up today, Evernote 5. So on the last show I did from California on Venice Beach, I talked about Evernote 5 coming to iOS. And well, as we record the show today, I'm happy to report Evernote 5 is now in the Mac App Store. It's now in the iOS App Store, and it's out. So if you're an Evernote guy, go out and update to these awesome new versions of Evernote. I'm a big fan of Evernote, and these releases are certainly good updates for sure, at least for me. Another software news is Apple updating QuickTime 7. That's 7.7.3 for Windows. So here on the Mac we have QuickTime 10, but on Windows they still go with the 7, and they've updated it for security fixes. So it's good to see Apple do that. If you are one of those people, I would recommend updating if you're on Windows. So with that said, the next bit of news is closing out the show. We're going to start off with The Hobbit. So The Hobbit is coming out pretty soon in December, and something I was really interested in is, will The Hobbit be available in the higher frame rate, the 48 frames per second 3D version in my area? So in Los Angeles, that was an obvious thing, it'd be there. In Hawaii, I wasn't sure if it'd be there. In New Hampshire, I wasn't sure either. So there's now an official listing on the Hobbit's website, so thehobbit.com/HFR3D, and that is where you'll find if your theaters nearby will support this enhanced viewing experience. I was very happy to note that tons of places around me, out in Manchester, New Hampshire, do support this. There were places out in Hawaii. My whole old theater out in Hawaii supports this. And it looks like the number of theaters in the wide area reach of this makes it so if you want to see this in this awesome format, the 48 frames per second in 3D, the high frame rate, you will be able to do so. So go visit thehobbit.com/HFR3D to check out which theaters in your area are available to do that with. Closing out the show is some AT&T news. First up is AT&T and FaceTime. So this is the deal here. With FaceTime on AT&T, if you're an iPad data customer, I have been able to FaceTime just fine. I've been able to do that since day one, since the betas, and that hasn't stopped. If you are anybody else, though, you need to be on that shared data plan. Well, evidently, AT&T is revising that to include LTE devices on non-unlimited plans. So the people on tiered data plans will soon be able to FaceTime. Now, I just got an iPhone 5 on the company plan, and currently it's still not available to FaceTime, even though it's on one of those tiered plans. And the story here is evidently it'll take AT&T 8 to 10 weeks to update people's settings to do this. And the odd thing is I just got my phone a couple days ago, and it still isn't updated to do this. So AT&T is trying to be the savior here of saying, oh, you can do this now because we tested our network and it won't collapse under this. This is kind of crazy stuff, and it's kind of baffling to me that AT&T is doing this as far as not every customer can do this. You need to be on an LTE device. So if you're on an iPhone 4S, you still won't be able to. And it just baffles me. So that's the first story about AT&T. Second story about AT&T is the simple fact that they're subsidizing iPads and other tablets. $100 off an LTE iPad, that's iPad mini or the regular one, so that brings into the price of a regular Wi-Fi unit. Now, this basically puts you on a contract for an iPad, and I cannot recommend anybody do this in good conscience. Contracts are a terrible thing. Having a contract for an iPad is an equally awful thing, and I cannot in good conscience recommend anyone do this. So if you want to, they're in the AT&T store. It'll save you $100. But really, a contract on an iPad, I just don't see it. I really don't. But if you're into that, it's available. Just go to AT&T store or online. I'm sure they can help you out there. I personally like the prepaid, turn it on, turn it off whenever you need it option. And I'd recommend you do that as well. So with that, that'll do us for today's show. Thank you for tuning in to today's show. That's what's going on in the Apple world today. You can find the show notes over at iWakePodcast.com. I also do videos over at youtube.com/TCHATEN. And finally, if you'd like access to the script and as well as some bonus content, head on over to iWakePodcast.com/again. Thank you for listening or watching to today's show. I'll be back hopefully tomorrow for another edition of iWake. I will be guest starring on another podcast tomorrow evening, so I should be able to make it work for iWake. But either way, I will talk to everyone again real soon. Thank you for tuning in, and I will talk to everyone again, I guess, soon. So aloha, and bye-bye.